Today, I want to share the top 3 ways you can help yourself have a productive morning starting tomorrow. Now, being productive in the morning has a ton of benefits. Starting the day right means you're more likely to be productive overall throughout your entire day. You're more likely to get the important stuff done right up front so it doesn't get delayed or backed up or whatever happens. And you just feel better when you have a productive morning, don't you? So let's get into this so I can share these top 3 with you and you can start putting this stuff to work tomorrow. I'm Adam with the Productivity Academy. Let's get into the 3 ways that you can have a productive morning. So, number 1, create a consistent routine for 2 areas, both before you start work and when you start work. So let me explain a little bit more about this. So before you start work, what I generally think of as like a morning routine as far as how you can do things to help yourself out. So number 1 is get moving. Right? Where your body goes, your mind is probably going to follow. And it doesn't have to be much. Like, I'm not saying you need to go out and run 10 miles in the morning or do a CrossFit hour-long workout, but get outside if you can. It's been proven to be effective. And just do something. Going for a walk, walking your dog, going for a walk with your partner, whatever that might be. If it is exercise, bike riding, running, that's great. But do something to get moving, and then, do something for you after, I assume if you've been out for a run, you're probably going to get cleaned up, do whatever. But then do you like to read? Then sit down and just tell yourself, that you have some sort of goal where it's like, you're going to read 1 page. Odds are you're going to read more than that. But every day you just read a page. Maybe you also have coffee with your partner. You bake something, whatever works for you, and with whatever kind of time you have available based on when you get up and what typically works for you. And the reason I leave this a little open is I'm not a believer in we'll get up at 4:45 or do this, do that. Do what works for you, but what you're doing is building some consistency so that you have this time available if you get up at a certain time or you do whatever. So I think that setting this up and having that time available and having a few things you do starting off with getting some movement and then going and doing some things for yourself is very effective. It also helps get your mind in the right space. So now we've talked about before, so let's talk about work. I am a big believer in having a set routine that you go through so you're not figuring it out in the moment, right? Well, you don't just sit down or like, what am I doing today? Like, let me check my email or let me look at Slack messages. You don't want to be doing that. So yeah, right. Like I mentioned, you don't want to be getting distracted with someone else's priorities first. So figure out what it is that you do every morning that's effective for you. And I have some recommendations, but this could change depending on what you need. So whatever you do, have it written down, right? Have links handy for what you need. Maybe you do a daily review of some sort where you go through a checklist and you look through your calendar, whatever that is. But if you put it into the calendar or you have it in Notion or you have it in a notepad file, whatever it is, have those links handy so you don't have to go and hunt stuff down. You just go, okay, these are the 3 things I do every day. If you like a template for this, let me know. Happy to share one in Notion, Google Docs, something you can take and use just about anywhere else. All right, number 2, prioritize. Okay, this can be done on multiple timescales, like daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, but just for the sake of simplicity, let's talk about weekly. So review what needs to be done and how you're going to move projects forward, okay? Your tasks will naturally kind of flow from those priorities, and then you'll know if you're working on the right things or not. So this also helps to keep you on track when you get distracted or you have to go work on something else, which happens to all of us. So how can you actually do this? So here's what I do. I like to set aside time on Monday morning. I do a weekly review. I have the link to that in my calendar already. So I just click, it opens up. And as part of that, I look at my active projects, my quarterly goals, and decide what my main tasks or A goals, and I'll link to that above and in the description, will be for the week. And once I've done that, I write those down on my whiteboard, which is over there, where I see it all the time. When I look around, when I get up, when I come back into the office, I see them all the time. So it helps keep me on track as far as, hey, have I actually been doing these things, or am I doing the things that will lead me to getting those done? And throughout the week, I can make sure that I'm knocking those out and staying focused on those. All right, number 3, block out time at the start of your day to work on your most important task first. Okay, if you work for yourself, this is of course going to be easier. Make sure though that you block out your calendar for this time. Okay, so I suggest trying at least 60 minutes, but start with whatever works for you. If you really only have 30 minutes, then start there, and perhaps over time you can push that open a little bit. But if you have nothing in your calendar right now, start with 60 minutes. That way no one's booking time here or distracting you. Now, what you're going to do during this time is work on whatever most important tasks you have that are needed for your current goals. So this goes back to number 2, right? We prioritize. And if you've written them down somewhere, now you know what you should be working on, and you can get working on those first thing in the day and building that habit of saying, I'm not going to reply to Slack messages first. I'm not going to dive into email. The very first thing I do is work on those most important tasks, because you told yourself it's the most important task, and that'll help you over time to stay focused and doing these things. Okay, if you're working for someone else, this might be time before going to the office. Or it also could involve blocking time in your calendar so that you can focus on the most important project or task to make sure that they're getting done or moved forward before others start scheduling meetings with you, or your boss is adding to your to-do list, whatever that might be. Okay, so those are the 3 tips, but I do have some notes on this. So I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I didn't say wake up super early or meditate for an hour, or you have to do this one thing. It's totally up to you. If meditation is something you want to try, add that maybe to that before work thing where, you get up, you have some movement, or maybe the meditation is part of it. That, again, totally up to you. And if you're an early riser, that's great. Or if you want to be, by all means, give it a shot. But what I've talked about here will help you no matter what your sleep patterns are like or how exactly you operate best. And don't forget too, that over time, you should really adapt this and change it and let it change over time. Like I've mentioned, these 3 areas or methods you can put to work will work, for a vast majority of things. But if you find that you want to change it up, that's great. You're going to customize this and get better results by doing so. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to stay up to date, and you'll be notified of more videos like this. And if you have a question or a comment about this, leave it below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.